The time and cost required to build and distribute digital products are rapidly plunging towards zero. We can see exactly how drastically the landscape has shifted by looking at a historical benchmark. Before he went to college, a student named Alex II had an idea to avoid student debt. He built the $1 million homepage. His strategy required immense manual effort. He created a 1,000 by 1,000 pixel grid and physically sold 1 million individual pixels at $1 each to advertisers, slowly filling the board to hit his $1 million goal. Today, an AI model can generate that exact 1,000 by 1,000 pixel layout in about 2 minutes. While Alex had to build the infrastructure by hand, the technical labor of creation is now a background process. The same is true for scale. A single person can now run dozens of highly profitable YouTube channels simultaneously, using automation to scale content distribution. Because the technical execution of a task is practically free, possessing hard technical skills is no longer a reliable economic moat for your career. You need a different advantage. Imagine 2 builders working in the same city. Suddenly, a new technology, a tower crane, is introduced that immediately doubles their efficiency. Builder A views this upgrade purely as a shortcut. Since they can now build twice as fast, they decide to cut their working hours exactly in half. This chart shows the direct result of that choice. With their hours dropping by 50%, Builder A's total output remains completely flat at the baseline. They have entirely neutralized their own competitive advantage. Builder B takes a different approach. They aggressively adopt the machinery, but maintain the exact same number of working hours. Looking at the updated chart, the contrast is stark. Because Builder B sustained their input, their total output spikes, effortlessly outcompeting Builder A. Thriving in an automated market requires upgrading your internal human operating system across 3 specific bottlenecks. The first bottleneck is the distracted optimizer. These are professionals whose attention spans have been completely shattered by a steady diet of short-form content. An inability to hold focus makes you immediately replaceable. AI already excels at executing fast, shallow tasks that require low concentration. If your work habits mimic an algorithm, the algorithm will take your job. This formula illustrates the concept of deep work. Your total high-quality output is calculated by multiplying the time spent by the intensity of focus. A professional doing 8 hours of highly distracted work will consistently lose to someone doing 4 hours of intense, uninterrupted focus. The focused worker is producing 3.5 times more value in half the time. Achieving this requires physical trade-offs. You either adopt a monastic approach, isolating yourself completely until a project is done, or you set a rigid rhythmic schedule that forces you to sever your digital dopamine loops. High impulsivity and constant task switching mathematically destroy your drive. If the delay between starting a task and getting a reward is interrupted by checking 6 different browser tabs, your motivation to finish complex projects vanishes. Mastering your cognitive endurance allows you to produce dense, complex work at a high multiple. That creates an intellectual moat that AI cannot easily replicate. The second bottleneck is the overconfident veteran. These are mid-level professionals who rely entirely on their past credentials to justify their value. They fall into an overconfident cycle. They form an initial opinion, aggressively seek out data that confirms what they already believe, and arrogantly dismiss any evidence that challenges them. Consider a seasoned marketer with 12 years of experience. When confronted with early, clunky AI tools, they immediately point out the flaws and dismiss the entire technology as an overrated fad. That ego-driven dismissal creates a blind spot. When those models inevitably improve a few months later, that marketer is completely unequipped to adapt, leading directly to job loss. This cyclical flowchart demonstrates the alternative, thinking like a scientist. You treat your entire career expertise as a mere hypothesis. You start with confidence, actively introduce doubt, gather new data, and finally end up upgrading your belief. To operate this way, you must accept appropriate failure. Real professional growth requires running experiments where you honestly do not know if the outcome will work. You maintain a day-one mentality. You avoid short-term panic by evaluating your success on a delayed 3-year timeline, knowing the experiments you run today are securing your position years in the future. Extreme cognitive adaptability protects you from sudden industry shifts, but it demands a painful trade-off. you have to sacrifice your professional ego. The final bottleneck is the entrepreneurial creator, those who want to scale their output but are limited by human friction and strategy. Developing unshakable output habits relies on environmental cues and system design rather than constant willpower. If you want to do the work, you engineer the room so that doing the work is the easiest option. This exponential graph plots the compounding mathematics of those systems. A mere 1% daily improvement stacks upon itself, yielding a nearly 38 times transformation over a single year. Once your internal systems are set, you have to look outward to interpersonal leverage. An AI model can write a script or compile code, but it cannot build human trust or manage social reputation. In a famous behavioral psychology study, researchers found that a waiter offering a single mint with the bill increased their tip by 3. If you are paralyzed by distraction and short attention spans, your immediate focus must be path A, building cognitive endurance through deep work. If you feel secure simply because of your past credentials, your priority shifts to path B, developing mental adaptability to ensure you don't get blindsided. And if you are already executing a business and need users to buy in, you take path C, prioritizing human leverage and influence. AI companies are constantly deploying updates to their models. It is entirely your responsibility to deliberately update your own cognitive software to keep pace. AI will absolutely replace the human who insists on working like a machine, but it cannot touch the human who masters their own psychology. In 2026, human biological modification crossed a historic threshold across two distinct vectors, genetic and neurology.